Keller. evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first VM Wealth Talks event of 2021. Happy New Year to you all. We are pleased to have you join us for this virtual event, which has a particularly meaningful focus given the current national and economic context. And I will spend some more time on this in a little while. Friends, the impact of the events of 2020, which most of us know all too well, will continue to linger with us for some time. The job losses, the shuttered businesses, and the decline in consumer confidence will require from us an attitude of resilience and a determination to emerge from this dark period better than before. Because much is at stake, we must reimagine our approach to the demands of the moment and capitalize on the opportunities while charting new paths. We may be bruised, but we certainly are not broken. There's a quote from Helen Keller that says, "Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved." Friends, this is why we are here this evening and why VM Wealth and the wider VM Group are committed more than ever to purposely empowering those we serve with financial education and tools that we all need to achieve financial well-being. Wealth Talks has been a significant component of our financial education mandate since 2019, and it is focused on empowering both corporate and individual investors. In as much as we enjoy hosting these sessions, we are more concerned with ensuring that they deliver real value to our members. We believe that with the right information, we can make better investment decisions that will transform our lives. Here's a little more about the context which has informed the current series of tonight's events, which we hope will deliver value. What are our concerns regarding companies that are faring through the pandemic? How are these companies pivoting for new opportunities? Are companies running out of capital, running out of cash? Are they using the moment to look at their business and their business models? There are also some global concerns that must be grappling all business leaders. Expanding across markets, domestic or international. How are we ensuring that we are instilling the right customer experience? With lower sales and lower consumer demand, how are we faring? How are we deploying technology to capitalize on the new opportunities? The word digital disruption is a new buzzword in the marketplace. How are we equipping our team members with the requisite skills to capitalize on those opportunities? What about privacy of information and information security? A lot of cyber threats are now existing in the marketplace. The economic conditions and constrained growth opportunities must be impacting our business owners. As we grapple with the lingering impacts of COVID-19, other considerations, climate change and sustainability. There are also global economic and geopolitical factors. Low economic growth here and abroad, as we saw with the events of last year, a very much divided global economy. Protracted return to vibrancy of key sectors locally, primarily tourism and agriculture. Limited fiscal room locally, based on the fact that we're a small, open economy. Some may even say globally overly stimulated economies with lots of accommodation by the monetary authorities in those jurisdictions. So what are some of our recommendations? Some which I'll state here and some which we'll elaborate further in the presentation. We believe that information and bold yet prudent action will be rewarded in the medium term. We believe that in this environment, cash is king. We believe that one must review their business and their business economy and their business model. What are the gaps that exist in all businesses, and how do we close those gaps? Strategic thinking, strategic positioning, we believe, are fundamental. There's a phrase I like to use: are we working in or are we working on our businesses? And I really want us to think about that. Are we working in or are we working on our businesses? There is a quote that I'd like to share with us all today. And it says, instead of freaking out about these constraints, let's embrace them and let them guide us. Constraints drive innovation and force focus. Instead of trying to move them, let's use them to our advantage. There's another quote that I'd like to share. It said, the secret of change is to focus all your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And obviously, that was me. Friends, we have lots of engaging, informative, and transformational sessions planned for 2021. We begin this evening with what we know will be it will be a useful and empowering event. On behalf of the VMware team, thank you very much for taking time to join us. I'll leave you with a word of caution, it's encouragement, in a quote. Again, as you can see, I love quotes. It says, opportunity does knock. If opportunity does knock, build a door. So let's start by building that door in 2021 going forward. My final act at this podium is to introduce our moderator and someone who is no stranger to the VMware team. Her name is Mrs. Paula and Porter Jones. I do believe that we consider ourselves very fortunate to call Paula a part of our extended family. As you will agree, Paula has one of the smoothest and most easily distinguishable voices in Jamaican broadcasting. Her trademark cool demeanor, the ease with which she speaks, and her outstanding command of the language has been some of the notable features that have landed her in the hearts of many Jamaicans for over 3 decades that she has been involved in broadcasting. As a master of ceremonies, she has guided hundreds of events, both locally and internationally. Her day job has her either on the airwaves of RGR 94 FM, co-hosting her weekly show, Sunny Side Up, or diving or her other role as a communications lecturer facilitator at the UWI Mona campus. Outside of that, she enjoys bird watching, scuba diving, playing volleyball or netball, riding her motorcycle, and Paula, we'll talk about that one later, listening to audiobooks or spending time with her husband and 4 children. Paula's outlook on life is a reminder to stay positive. And it says, seize the day, don't fight the facts, find another way. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium Mrs. Paula Ann Porter Jones.
Thanks for that introduction, Rez, and thanks for the warm welcome. Rez has put in context for you what we are doing here together. It's the first VM Financial Education to Empower event for 2021, and you must have picked up by now that financial education is very important to the VM group. So, we're kicking off this 2021 financial education season with Wealth Talks 2021, Business Success Strategies, from crisis to opportunity, endless possibilities. Now, you know it, Rez has said it. 2020 has been a particularly challenging year for businesses. And so we've got the right mix of persons to help advise us as to the way forward. This session is going to feature a special presentation from Richard Pandui, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, and Group CEO, Seprod Limited. Now, he's going to be sharing about the challenges faced by his organization in 2020 and what strategies they used to overcome. This is going to be followed by a panel discussion. Now, we have panelists Devon Barrett, VM Group Chief Investment Officer. We have Michelle Smith, the sweet lady, CEO from Chocolate Dreams. And Dean Shepard is with us. He's CEO of the SNB Creative Group. We're confident that by the time we get to the end of this session, business leaders, managers, SMEs, and entrepreneurs at all levels are going to be gaining insights from these successful leaders on how to navigate well during 2021. Now, to start us off, our first presentation will be done by Richard Pandui. Now, Richard is passionate about growing value and creating success stories. He believes in giving back, and he is committed to helping other Jamaicans achieve their potential. He's widely respected as a transformational and a visionary leader, and when he's not running around factories and farms, he spends time watching his favorite sports teams or just hanging with the family. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us to welcome the president of the JMEA and Group CEO of Seprod Limited, Richard Pandui, as he speaks on challenges faced by his company in 2020 and the key strategies that allowed it to be resilient. Richard Pandui.
Thank you, VM team. First of all, I was Paula's sideman for a couple of years. We both used to co-chair the JMEA banquet, so happy Valentine to you, my love. So, first of all, guys, thank you for having me here. It's a privilege. And I want to talk to the viewers a little bit. I can spend a few minutes with you. And one of the things that tend to happen is that these seminars is that people say that a lot of the registrars will be entrepreneurs for small micro business. What would be the CEO of a large company in Jamaica? What would you understand about our challenges? What would you understand about our realities? The fact is that as a president for the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, a lot of people feel that the JMEA is a big boy club, And that's not true. That's completely fake news. Actually, 75% approximately of our membership are micro, small, and medium enterprises. So that's the constituents that we advocate for, and those are the realities that we face every day. So we'll get that myth out of the way. So going along, pre-COVID Jamaica. We always talk about COVID, but remember pre-COVID Jamaica. Highest business and consumer confidence, strong financial management by the government. So we're creating fiscal space, or debt to GDP coming down, new businesses registering, lowest level of unemployment ever in the history of Jamaica, record stock exchange, #1 in the world, couple years in a row, record tourism. According to Minister Niger, the economy was bubbling, that's the term we use, bubbling. And then boom, COVID happened. And so when we did, that's much right, COVID happened. And then when we spoke amongst our membership within the JMEA now, what issues that you're facing? And I pick only a few because it wanted to focus properly. The major issue recognized by our membership has been reduced cash flow, obviously, from reduced sales, higher costs, etc. Limited technological integration has been identified as a major issue. Supply chain disruptions, hard to get your input material. And the rising costs, the pandemic has pushed costs through the roof. In fact, for a lot of items have reached record high levels in the last highest level that they have seen in 4 years, and with a lot of legs to keep growing. Transportation costs, like container costs, have gone through the roof. A container from China, which was $1,500 a year ago, is now 8,000 plus. So all these is translated to the rising costs. And lately, We've had workforce availability is now coming fast as a major, major issue. And when you look at the trend happening in Jamaica with the number of positive cases and the level of positivity, you can understand 30% positivity is cause for great alarm. So those are the issues identified by our members. And I think what VM wanted from me today is to talk about how we're going to navigate this. What are the areas we're going to look to navigate this? So I'm kind of just straddling both caps here, separate and JMEA, if you'll allow me. You know, as Rez pointed out, you know, the major thing to manage for me has been cash flow management. That is king at this point in time. Cash flow management. Every single week, twice a week, I go through my financial people, you know, those cash flow management. We have to manage that. We have to determine what we really need to spend. Where are we going to collect from? And that has become one of the most important things. Product and service diversification. We talk a lot about the challenges COVID has brought, but you have to step back and look at the opportunities it's also presented. It has presented a lot of opportunities. Micro and small businesses through e-commerce online platform have now been seeing sales that they didn't see before. Geographical boundaries are no longer as important. People are online a lot. And it's allowed that type of interface and opportunity. People are diversifying their products. I've seen chefs, for example, who can no longer cater off party, producing products and putting in supermarket for sale. I've seen companies that are in the chemical industry pivoted and started producing sanitizing gel. In fact, Jamaica, I'm proud to say, has now reached a point where we can now sufficiently supply our own needs and also to export, to the point where the government no longer had to give waiver on imported items. We have seen, for example, in natural space, people want more natural product. People want more agricultural product. So companies that are in the food space, they have seen a tremendous rise in business. Many of these companies I know of personally, double their production, double their employment level because of just demand, especially from the export market. We're seeing areas to adapt technology to drive focus and labor flexibility. Otherwise, you're talking about remote working. When you ever thought Jamaica reached a stage where so much people can work from home remotely? A year or 2 years ago, that would have been frowned upon by many management and many entrepreneurs. What do you mean? My worker for stay at them yard and work? No, they have to come office. No, you have to trust those same workers. You have to empower them to work remotely. And I believe that this is a situation that is not a pandemic situation anymore. I believe this is going to be life going forward because you're now realizing that your real estate can be used for, Michelle from Charles Dreams, probably use less office space and use more space for production. It's true. I mean, it's an opportunity to change how you look at your real estate. VM business, whether it's your raw material supplier, you need to see them as partners and they need to see you as partners because we're going to get through this. And you're going to remember the people that stood with you in your most challenging time. So I'm strongly recommending that you have that conversation. I've spoken to a number of micro businesses. I've said to them, don't be afraid to have that conversation. Pick up the phone. Several of them have, and what you find is that the people are big business, big suppliers. We're a small business and micro business at one stage. They remember what it was being an entrepreneur. And everybody knows that this is a once in 100 years pandemic. This is not this disruption is beyond anything we've ever seen. So have that conversation and them to our partners as opposed to just a supplier. Export opportunities. Jamaica is a disaster to export. I was at the port last, and only 5% of the activity at the port in Kingston is related to export. Can you believe that? 95% of the activity is related to import or empty containers going back. We cannot grow our country economy or our business if we're going to just be locally focused alone. I'm speaking in general, right? Obviously, specific situations will differ. But as a whole, we have to look beyond that. Brand Jamaica is one of the most sought after brand in the world. And whatever we do, people are excited about Jamaica and Jamaicans. Let's take this opportunity to look for the opportunities, let's say this pandemic, to recreate the very export focus. I mean, obviously, there are things from a policy level that need to be done. I think the government can do a lot more when it comes to, for example, on the e-commerce platform. We are advocating that customer administration fees should not be applied to micro business when they export online. Somebody order from you from abroad, you ship it out, you're paying this. That ought to be stopped. with things like the Madrid Protocol, which allow business to register their brands in multiple countries in just one step and get brand protection, is key. And those are things holding back Jamaican companies. So we need to do something, somebody pirate it. So I think huge export opportunities. And the last area of focus I want to talk about, but by no means least, is people. In this pandemic, in this challenge, you need to have the right people. People with the right attitude and the right skill set. The fact is that the skill set that are required to run your business now is going to be different from what it was maybe a year or 2 years ago. You have to understand what you need, where you need them, and where you're going to get them from. And we have to look after our people, because they become the people who look after our customers or our consumers. We have to be passionate about our customers. In this period, it's about your customers. It's about building that relationship, getting them to buy from you, building things going forward. I mean, what is business if you don't have customers? So I think that, we have to step back. Not you can't, for those in the trade, you can't go in the supermarkets or in the trade and meet them face to face. I talk about online. You want to make sure that you're speaking to them, that you're interfacing with them, that we're making sure that we look after the people who look after our business. So those are the key areas that I would identify at this point. I mean, there's nothing magical in here. There's really nothing magical. It's about understanding the basics, focusing on them and executing. Jamaica has always had problems, that we always have great plans, we have great ideas, but we have an execution deficit, you know what I mean? I mean, lots of plans, but with lots of committee, lots of meeting. But I'm recommending to you that whatever you do, you pick a few things and close them, and then go to the next set of things. Because too often this time, that's going to be the differentiator between those who make it and those who don't. And, I mean, this is not on my point, but there also is an opportunity for consolidation. Sometimes we're spending too much time doing multiple things. I think as entrepreneurs, we try to do too many things in our business. And sometimes you need to step back and decide what is that I need to do and what is a nice to do. I need to separate that and focus on what you need to do. That's very important. So I'm encouraging you. This too will pass. I mean, the pandemic, I say once in 100 years, it will disappear. And we need to start getting that mindset. I think what Devon and the team have plans for today is that we need to be transition from survival thinking to how we're going to move into the transition to recovery. I think it's very important because there are vaccines being approved. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's time we start transition from survival to recovery. And today, I'm encouraging you. I mean, don't be overwhelmed. Just be focused. Don't think that your business is going to not survive today or tomorrow. It will survive. But we have to get through this period, but you have to get through this period with a plan to recovery. You have to have that plan in place. Keep it simple, keep it focused, keep it measurable, and be relentless in your execution. So, for now, that is what I'd have to say. Thank you for your attention, and thank you to the VM team for having me here.
Release that mouse. So this is what you're doing at work? Online shopping? Hey, Mrs. Richards. Stick to the iSave plan so you can get your dream house. The key when faced with temptation is to walk, run, or roll away from it. And later on, we're going to transfer some money to your iSave account using VM Express Online.
Welcome back to this, the first event in Victoria Mutual's Financial Education to Empower 2021 season. Now, this is Wealth Talks 2021, Business Success Strategies from Crisis to Opportunity, Endless Possibilities. We've heard from the CEO of VM Investments Limited and VM Wealth, Rez Burchinson. We've also heard from Richard Pandui, President, JMEA, and Group CEO, Seprod Limited. We're now going to be going into our panel discussion, and we'll be focusing on strategies used by SMEs to make significant strides in 2020 and ways in which they can find resources that they need, resources that are available to them. So with us for our panel discussion are Michelle Smith, and she's CEO of Chocolate Dreams, Dean Shepherd, he is CEO of SNB Creative Group, and Devon Barrett, VM Group Chief Investment Officer and Head of the Strategic Investment Unit. Before we get into our discussion, we're going to have some opening remarks from our panelists. So Michelle and Dean will be sharing their own experiences with navigating the COVID-19 pandemic, the crisis in 2020, while Devon is going to be sharing on business opportunities that exist within our current environment and some key factors, success factors for businesses to gain financing that will help them take advantage of the opportunities. We'll start with Michelle. Now, born to an architect father and a medical assistant mother, Michelle was taught that her possibilities were endless. Her dreams were there for the taking. After leaving Alpha Commercial College with a secretarial diploma, Michelle spent 24 years as an administrator working for a diverse range of organizations, including the Embassy of the United States of America in Kingston, Appliance Traders Limited, and American Airlines. During this time, Michelle embarked on her first entrepreneurial idea, Nice and Naughty, Jamaica's first erotic store. It was then that she discovered the world of chocolates, as her chocolate-filled naughty molds were a big hit. But that hunger for chocolate and beyond chocolate grew. And after years of research online and visits to chocolate shops and factories in the United States, Michelle realized that in the world of chocolate, her ideas were limitless. In 2004, within the walls of a small two-bedroom apartment, Chocolate Dreams Limited began. Now, years later, it has received several awards, including the NCB Nation Builders Award, Strength Award in particular in 2008, the Lions Club of New Kingston Award in 2008, Heart Trust Outstanding Female Entrepreneur Award in 2009. She was chosen as one of the first bold ones in manufacturing by the Continental Baking Company in 2010. She won the Jamaica Observer's Baker of the Year Award for 2011-2012. She's also received recognition regionally by the University of Trinidad and Tobago and the Ministry of Food Production, Land and Marine Affairs in recognition of pioneering achievements in fine cocoa in 2011-2012. And she's also received one of the Gleaner Honor Awards for Business. That was in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have Michelle Smith.
Hi, Paula. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy to be here. As Paula said, I sound very successful, right? But my measure of success is not really in money. It's the impact that I have on the lives of people around me. I'm a patriotic Jamaican. I love Jamaica. I chose to be here and build my family and my business here. And then, despite all the challenges of all the years, because don't think because of all the accolades that I've had that the business wasn't without challenge. It was. So I'm going to be very honest. We have had challenges in Chocolate Dreams, but one of the greatest things that I think that I have done is be resilient. I have bounced back with every challenge that I've faced, and I have to tell you that failures are a part of everyday life. Failure, and I accept that. So when COVID happened and we lost the opportunity with 5 hotels overnight. My business was really disturbed. I was not in a good way at that time. And I did some interviews on Nationwide, and I remember saying to Cliff when he asked me that how I survived that far was thinking post-COVID. So my mantra has been post-COVID. So of course, everybody thought 3 months we'd be over. We're now a year. I can't believe it's been a year. It's been a year of real hard times. But how I did it was I started from scratch again, believe it or not. I turned my business around and went online immediately. I didn't even think about it. I didn't hesitate. I had a social media manager who I terminated because I found that me doing the social media heightened my sales. So if I don't go on social media one day, my sales dropped. I was able to command the attention of my followers. I post positively. I post nothing negative. I quit all organizations that I served and said, let me laser focus on my business. So people WhatsApp me or they Instagram me or they Facebook me at night, I respond. I respond right away. Actually, my life is chocolate dreams. And I think that's what people like. They like to know they can reach out to you. And one of the things about chocolate dreams that I think has been most successful is it's comfort food. It's a $1 billion industry. Chocolate is comfort food for people who are sad and not happy. And COVID has made so many people unhappy. So I am happy that I provide in a happiness for people. And I'm happy about that because the joy they get from eating something that comes from Chocolate Dreams is worth more than anything to me. I'm happy when I eat chocolate, and I think all of you are too. Maybe not, maybe not everything, but I think you like chocolate. So my company's mantra now is that we are providing and making people happy. And that's what my job is. And so my business pivoted to provide happiness to people. In the first stages of COVID, what we did was every brownie we sold, we provided a brownie to the doctors and nurses at every hospital in Kingston. So if people bought one brownie, then one brownie went to the hospital, and we spent several weeks doing that. And then eventually other people caught on, and we developed a program where we fed nurses and doctors for 8 weeks from pooling together resources, which I thought was a great initiative. It helped me to be busy. It helped me to feel like I was contributing something towards the fight against COVID. And out of that, out of reaching out to people and helping the doctors, and it brought such a blessing back to me. I have been greatly blessed. I have been blessed 100%. I've had people that have reached out and helped me. I have 5 core people that helped me. My daughter, Dr. Stephanie Matthews, Howard Mitchell, Rita Hilton, Wayne Kirkpatrick, and Joan King. They gave of their time. They gave of their energy. I can call them anytime, and they propped me up for the last year, and I'm very grateful for it. And I'm grateful to God for all the blessings He has given Chocolate Dreams. And we had a great Valentine's. Yes, thank you very much. Great Valentine's. And that's me.
Boy, Michelle, I love that story. Working in the business and on the business, leveraging networks and seizing the opportunities.
Yes, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to hear from Dean Shepherd. Now, he is CEO of SNB Creative Group, which is a newly formed group of innovative companies in the entertainment and digital media space. Dean is a project management expert. He's gained his experience in the field through several years of involvement in the fast-moving consumer goods industry. He's worked in several fields, including engineering, marketing, sales, and also new product development. Currently, he is actively involved in producing entertainment events and assisting companies in executing their digital initiatives within the COVID-19 environment. Please make welcome Dean Shepherd.
Thank you, Paula. Well, I mean, entertainment is at the forefront of, what everybody's discussing now. I think we were probably the first hit, and I'm pretty sure that we'll be one of the last to recover fully once Corona passes. And, the message from VM spoke about how we navigated, but, up to today, we're still navigating, and we believe we will be navigating Corona for some time in our business. Last year, I spent, 12 years building Blueprint. SNB is made up of 3 companies right now, Blueprint, Starlight Production, and Real Time Studios. And we spent 12 years building Blueprint to a stage where we were ready to make an impact in the market. And so, when Corona happened, at the same time, we were consolidating resources with our acquisition of Starlight. And at that time, we heard about the first case. Everybody was like, all right, something is coming. Let's see what happens. But we were not really prepared for, the stop-dead impact that it had on our teams. And so right then, we went into consolidation mode. We looked at our expenses. We looked at what the bigger line items were. And we tried to prioritize those items into what we could negotiate with our partners, what we could opt out of, what was not mission critical, and what was critical to keeping our business surviving, because no matter what was going on with Corona, if a client called us, we still had to be able to deliver the service to a professional degree. So the biggest challenge for us last year was really starting with our cost-cutting rationalization and the impact that it had on our team. My team is very, very, very important to me, and it was one of the more gut-wrenching things for me to look at my team as a line item and really see how that played out into the bigger picture and our ability to survive. And so for us, that was one of the things that impacted us very heavily at the onset of Corona. As we got into it, we started looking at new opportunities. People started talking about the new normal. What's the new normal? And so we have to find this balance between getting into the new normal, how much to get into the new normal versus what was really the new normal, what was the outlook timeline for these new normal activities, because you didn't want to jump at every opportunity because you didn't know what was, going to be sustained and long lasting. And so, we looked at the virtual world, and that's how we came up with our Real Team Studios team that's here today. And it helped us to provide a viable option to take our teams with Blueprint and Starlight to create another product that could satisfy our clients. And so for us, that was a big part of our pivot. We did that. We went into sanitization to an extent as part of a complementary service for our clients. So we knew it was a need, but we didn't want to be a sanitization company. It wouldn't be necessarily on brand. And so we provided it as a add-on for our clients to encourage them to use us more. So that was another big pivot for us, because we had to look at how the challenges and the decisions we made during those challenging moments, how they affected our brand in the short term, medium, and long term, because we didn't want to do anything that was going to jeopardize our brand, jeopardize our relationships with our customers, jeopardize our relationships with suppliers, because we all wanted to be together post-Corona. So that was one of the things that we got into. We've now recently completed a studio space where we host virtual events and virtual concerts. Again, as a pivot, looking at the long-term outlook for Corona, we believe we have another, possibly conservatively a year. So we need to be able to offer services that within the year can offer clients opportunities to execute within the constraints. And so, it has been a challenging year. We do routine brainstorming because, we always have to keep at leading edge of what is happening. But I would say for us the cash management, again, to Richard's point, is key. We look at who do we have to pay, because we have to pay people fast to keep the relationships, to keep the service, but at the same time, we need to collect even faster, because it's good to have money on the road, but if that money is not in your bank account, you can't do anything with it. And so those are the major lessons. I give thanks for the team that we have with us, even the team that are no longer with us, because they have been part of our journey. We have some great partners in the Norbert Group. They are my investment partners in the acquisition that took place, and they, Kari and Garth continue to provide great strategic advice, and that's one of the other lessons that for 2020 is having partners that you can bounce things off, people who have not necessarily grown in your industry, because they give you a perspective that you wouldn't normally have, and we have benefited greatly from it.
Thank you so much for that, Dean. It's interesting because the world of entertainment is one that you thought would have just stopped, but you've found the opportunities and you are building on them and exploring even more. And now it's time to move to our third panelist, Devon Barrett, VM Group Chief Investment Officer. Now, a strategic and visionary leader, Devon has been with the Victoria Mutual family since 2008, I believe. He assumed the role of Group Chief Investment Officer with responsibility for diversifying the group's investment portfolio. He also served with distinction at the helm of Victoria Mutual Wealth Management, where his primary areas of focus included conceptualizing and implementing the strategic direction of the company, managing the company's balance sheet, ensuring compliance with all the regulatory requirements, and managing the growth in profit and shareholders' value. He's a strong negotiator, he's an effective communicator, and he inspires his team to achieve even greater levels of performance, thereby positively impacting individual growth and development. Ultimately, that leads to overall company results. So, let's welcome Devon Barrett.
Thank you very much, Paula, and good afternoon, everyone. So it's funny, we talk about, how we survive COVID and some of the things that have come from COVID. As a matter of fact, the most used word in the last year may have been, well, outside of the word COVID-19, may have been pivot. And that's what most of us have had to do in the period. As a matter of fact, when we look on the VM Group, one of the things that rings to us is the fact that we started pivoting before COVID-19, and it turned out to be so beneficial to us. So one example of the pivot was that we were doing virtual meetings before we got into COVID-19. And so when COVID-19 came, virtual meetings was just par for the course for us. And so we had no disruptions. So that's one example. On the other side of it, our clients, we have had clients who have wanted to change their business for quite a while, and they just did not get into doing it or didn't do it just because they were not forced into action. And I give you a couple of examples. We have seen where in the pandemic, companies like restaurants were forced to start delivering. Do you know that companies in Trinidad were delivering food as par for the course long before now? So that's one example. We've seen another example where a media group here in Jamaica, which Paula is very familiar with, has had close to 40 weeks of a Saturday night party, which probably was unheard of before now. But as you can all see, it turned out really well for them. So that's another example. A third example is how we do business in the banking sector. We still have people who want to walk up to a teller and do a transaction, who want to walk in the banking space to do a transaction. And we have had to say to people, no, you don't. Before 2007, there's a banking group that operates here in Jamaica that operates in other countries. And they had a branch of their bank in Toronto, Canada, that had 10 virtual tellers on their line prior to 2007. So think about that. The same bank in Jamaica has human tellers. And not that we don't like humans, but the truth is, we have seen the impact of the pandemic and the need for banks and financial institutions to close their doors to humans just to avoid the spread of COVID-19. And so, if the banks had done that pivot before now, they would not have had that problem. The good news is that in the VM group, we've actually gone that direction. And what we did with our products and services is by no means, I think, first class. So I'll give you one example. In the money transfer business, we have clients who are now able to collect their money transfers from overseas into their bank account and they just go to the ATM to get money or go to a point of sale and use it. So it's very easy for them. They don't have to walk up to us anymore. I'll give you a further example to that. During the pandemic, in the heights of the pandemic last year, you may recall that Portmore was on lockdown for, I think, 2 weeks. On the first day of the lockdown, we had a client in Portmore who was able to get his transfer into his bank account, and he was able to use his card at the supermarket in Portmore on the first day of the lockdown. So if you think about it, he got a money transfer into his account on that day, and he was able to use it the very same day without actually going anywhere or breaking any kind of protocol. So I say that to say that we have had to pivot, and our clientele, we think, will have to do the same thing. They will have to pivot. What have we done to help them? We have loans and leases that will kind of help our clientele to retool their business, because that's one of the gaps we've found with businesses in Jamaica. They just don't retool and get their business more efficient. So you know that you want to compete, you're competing with the rest of the world. Goods are coming from China and coming to Jamaica cheaper than goods produced in Jamaica. What does that mean? That we will have to retool our businesses here in Jamaica so that we can produce the goods and services at lower than those coming from as far as China. So that's one example, and we can help those clients with doing things like those. Then we have clients who, from time to time, want to do business through their account. So they have money on the road, as Dee just said, right? And they literally have money on the road because they have to go and physically pick it up. We're saying you don't have to physically pick up anything. Just make the necessary arrangements with your clients so that they will wire the money into your bank account with us. And so you can move the monies, pay your employees, and do all the things you want, as simple as just using your card or using our online banking services. As a matter of fact, I love to tell this part of the story about our low or no fees, because to do a transaction using our online services or our cards, it's zero, free. It don't cost you anything to use our cards or our online services or our cards. So we're saying you don't physically have to come into any of our locations, and you can do all the transactions that you want to do using our online or our card services, and they are for free. I want to go a little further. We have our advisory services business, where clients can come in and get free, did I say free? $0, free advisory services, where you can come in, sit down to with an advisor, and they can help you to change your business structure. So we give structure and advice for your business. And then when it's all said and done, we will tell you whether you need more equity capital or debt capital. And we won't stop there. We'll take you to the market and raise the debt or equity capital needed to make your business better. And that's one of the gaps we find with local entities. Local entities don't pay enough attention to their capital structure. And the truth is, you need working capital if you want your business to be successful. And we're saying we have advisors who will look on your business and chart a path for going forward, and then make the necessary recommendations to you and we'll help you raise the necessary capital to get that business. So the working capital is critical to your business, and so we encourage you to come in and sit down with us right now and do it. So the long and short is, I don't think you want to waste a crisis, right? There's an opportunity in every single crisis. The biggest opportunity out of this crisis right now is that you can retool. There's a lot of financial capital out there right now waiting to be deployed. What that means is that if you were to say you needed $100 million right now, Jamaican dollars of capital, you can easily get it from the marketplace right now. But what you need to do is to get your business organized. So if you were to come into us right now and have a sit down with us, we'll kind of guide you as to what to do to get your business properly organized, and then we'll help you to raise the capital. There's so much stimulus dollars around the world right now that you do not want to miss this opportunity. What it could conceivably happen to you is that the crisis could end, you don't retool your business, you don't restructure your business, and so when the crisis is over, you just can't compete. So I'm saying use this opportunity to get your business reorganized. And I'll stop there for now, Paula, and take some questions later on. Thank you.
Boy, so many ideas coming as you position for us just how Victoria Mutual, the group, is situated to help us do what it is we need to do, whether it's to pivot, rethink, but definitely to survive in this COVID and post-COVID period. So thank you, all of you, for sharing so far. That's just the first part. We now have questions, and I'd like to invite those of you that are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, please send us your questions as well. We'll include them with the ones that we already have as we move through. And the first question I want to throw at Dean. Having worked through different companies, mergers, acquisitions, changes, what can you suggest are the key characteristics that businesses need to be able to be resilient so they can recover quickly in a crisis like this?
Well, good question. Anytime we get into merger, teams coming together, it's very important to understand the culture. One thing is the product that you're selling, but the culture of the teams coming together to deliver that service, you'll hear me use the word team a lot, because especially when you start to get of a certain size, your team is really what matters. Your team is what delivers the growth, delivers services for you, and that's the primarily the day job. Having a strategic outlook is always important. Not being too comfortable in where you are, always looking ahead, and especially in the role that I play, trying to not necessarily be too day jobby, but looking at the outlook for what the industry is going to do next, so that we have a plan. So having a plan is a big part of that resilience that we need to have. Even in terms of your reserve outlook, Corona would have taught us a lesson, as it has taught individuals about what your reserve fund is supposed to be. Is your reserve fund, 2 weeks of your salary, 1 month's salary? But as a business, we would look at our shocks in our industry as 1 to 3 months of up and down. But what Corona is teaching us now is that we need to have a longer outlook in terms of our reserve fund to be able to absorb shocks. So I would say your ability to absorb shocks, what that plan is. As a group, we have to also look at which industries we play in. We found that as many different services that we offer, they all tie back to one industry, and that can be a great move when things are booming, but it can be a very detrimental move when things are not booming. So we have to look at how we use our strengths and knowledge of the industry to play in other industries, so that we can cushion ourselves from the impact of the next pandemic in the next 100 years.
That's a lot. Understanding the culture of the team, having a strategic outlook, the reserve outlook, so you can absorb shocks over a longer period, and taking a look at which industries you serve so that you're cushioned as well, in case anything happens in one. Michelle, you look like you wanted to add to this. You moved across different business models as well. Are you in agreement with what Dean has said?
Yes, I'm in full agreement. You have to have a plan. That's basically what Dean was saying as well. And A lot of us in smaller businesses think that we can operate without a plan. A plan is very essential. You have to know exactly where you're going, and I think that's what helped me last year, because that group of people I told you that was, you know, really my mentors. We planned it, and we planned our cash flow, and our cash flow was critical. So every morning I would have to review my cash flow, what I had to spend, what I couldn't spend, what I could buy, and honestly, it has really helped me to become more knowledgeable about my business and what my business entails and where I can cut and where I cannot cut. So planning is essential.
No, you're mentioning a plan, you mean a formal plan, because many persons in business say, yeah, man, I have a plan. This is what I'm going to do. But you are referring to a specific business plan.
We created a specific plan to take us from, because I don't know if anybody knows, but I had a store in Devon House, and we had our factory on Roosevelt Avenue. So what we did was we closed Devon House, and then we found a place to move both factory and retail. And so in order to do that, we had to have a written plan of how we would move, Paula, it didn't always go according to plan, but I
you
would
had a
say
plan.
we have come out of it in a better position than we were before, and the plan worked.
I want to bring VM in here a little bit, because many businesses don't have that formal plan. You mentioned earlier that there is free advice that's offered. Is there support for those who need to have a formal business plan created?
Absolutely. So the advisory services business that I talked about earlier is offered by VM Wealth Management and VM Investments Limited. And what it does is to look on the business, critically look on the business that you're currently doing, and create a prescription for that business. The prescription that we're talking about will entail what you need to do from day 1 to day 100. And it involves a couple of things. One, if your business is not properly organized from the perspective of financial statements and corporate governance, you have to put those things in place like right away. Then you have to look on the corporate structure of the business. Whether you have this company and another company or whatever it is, you need to ensure that the corporate structure is aligned to what you do. Then you're talking about the organizational structure, which is involving the people. The people is critical to the business. And one of the things we find is that a lot of the critical positions to creating the success in a business, they're not filled. They don't have to be filled permanently, but the resources must be available to you. So we're talking about the support services here, whether it is accounting, marketing, legal services, distribution services, the way you do your business, all of those things have to be properly planned out. So I would say that I'd like businesses to kind of rethink the way they operate. Don't just see yourself as the man who is the great baker and want to run the business. As they say in the real world, you are just a talent, but the talent needs management. So you have to put the management around it. And I'm saying that kind of structuring is something that we can help you with. And I'm saying we won't just leave you there. We'll take it to the next level so that you can actually go out there and raise capital for your business. I want to mention the junior market. There's a very successful junior stock exchange market here in Jamaica that has helped many companies to raise capital. And it is still underutilized. The situation there is that there's a tax-free break for the first 5 years, half of the taxes for the second 5 years, and then you start paying taxes beyond that. Many companies have benefited from that, but there are so many others that could benefit from that have actually stayed away from doing it. And I want to use this opportunity to encourage many of those companies to use this opportunity right now. It gives you the opportunity later on to be nimble. It means if you see an opportunity that is created out of COVID-19, you can react to it right away. because you'll have the corporate structure in place to do it, and you'll have the capital in place to do it. So again, I would want to encourage people to think about those things. Don't think selfishly about the fact that you are the talent and you will use the talent alone. Come and get our advice as to how you can use your talent, build a team, and create a successful business.
Thank you. That's a comprehensive response. I have a follow-up question. I want to thank those who are sending in their questions on Facebook and YouTube. Going to be coming shortly. Courtney, Carla, we have those questions. But while we're here with you, we've mentioned the business plan, and we've recognized it as perhaps a gap that many companies have. Can you concisely mention any other gaps you think have showed in businesses that have showed up during the pandemic?
Right. So the problem with most of these businesses is that they're not, in many cases, agile and they're not nimble. So outside of the fact that they're not organized, right, and let me just stop on organized for 1 minute. Financial statements is a must. There's no getting around providing financial statements. So the least you can do as a business is to go out there and get the services of a true, proper accountant, right? A qualified accounting firm that will help you to create those financial services, because that's the way you know if you're making money or not. Many companies are out there doing transactions and activities, but they're not making money. And if you're not making money, then your business can't grow. And if it can't grow, it's going to die. So again, I would encourage people to just, get themselves properly organized. But the truth is, you must also be able to pivot. And when we saw COVID-19 coming in, if you did not use the opportunity to pivot, your business could easily have died. So again, we're saying, use the opportunity that is seen right here to pivot into new areas.
Thank you. I'm taking notes, and I know other persons are too. We're going to jump to the questions. Courtney Heslop has asked, Michelle, this one's for you. You gave us the story, a summary. Are there other particular challenges that you faced that you can perhaps mention?
Prior to COVID, or?
Well, she hasn't specified.
Okay. So prior to COVID, our 2019-2020 scenario was one of many challenges. We actually were coming out of a relationship with a financial institution that didn't have any faith in my company. And so that's how we got caught in COVID, in that kind of coming out of that relationship. So we were kind of left hanging. But we also had the challenges of employees, which, as Devon said, Dean, he spoke about the team. Mm-hmm. So I had a team of 23 people. I currently have 7, which includes me. So I had to let go certain people, not because I wanted to, but I had to, because we had to be very conscious of our cost cutting, and there was nowhere to place them. And when I look at them, what we tried to do was we tried to do 4 days on, 4 days off, that kind of scenario, but it wasn't enough for them. And so most of them left frustrated and they left. But my core team has stayed with me. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I had.
The next question actually stays with you, Michelle. You spoke about establishing partnerships. You've mentioned those key people and the kind of ecosystem that was created to support you and the business. How can this model be applied across industries is the question.
Okay, so I've always been a collaborator. So even from the very onset of my business, I would collaborate with parties, functions, events, anything I could find that my Chocolate Dreams could be a part of, I did. And I think that's one of the biggest things about my brand, is that I did collaboration. So it wasn't new to me for COVID. So what I did when I opened a new store is I found several smaller businesses who were like mine, One was Pure Chocolate, who makes a bean to bar chocolate. The Perfect Batch, which makes cookies. And I put them in my store. So they're in Chocolate Dreams. I'm not talking about fighter brands. I'm talking about me as a Jamaican in COVID having a hard time pushing smaller brands, bringing them up to me. And that's one of the things that I have always done. I like to hold somebody's hand and pull them up so they don't have to go through the hurdles that I did. And so that's part of my collaboration effort, is to keep those people in my space and help them to grow so that post-COVID, we'll all benefit, not just Chocolate Dreams, but Pure, Perfect Batch, every frilly thing, because I use all the packaging from her. I use all the packaging from Cake Box. So I try to support my smaller people, and that's part of my collaboration efforts.
So
If
taking
that's a
it, yes, it
question.
does. So you're looking for complementary entities, and
Correct.
it's almost like a symbiotic
Right.
relationship.
So we're actually in dialogue with Debbie Belcher, who does a soy ice cream, and we are going to carry her in Chocolate Dreams as well. So we're gonna part of my pivoting was to include other people, because we are all in this pandemic together. And I think sometimes, and I'll be very honest with you, I feel like God gave us this pandemic to wake up people to that fact. We are in it together. It's not a one-man show. So, my bank should be reaching out to me to help me, and I should be reaching out to other people to help them, and that's how we're going to get through it. There's no other way.
Total agreement with you there. We have another question from our Facebook and YouTube audiences. This one is for you, Dean. Have you considered doing more virtual parties? You've expanded into different aspects of entertainment. What are your thoughts with respect to more virtual parties and the kind of cash flow that could come from that as an endeavor?
Well, when I say I have been involved in it, the company has been involved more from providing the services. So we provide the studio space, we provide the equipment, lighting, and so from a commercial standpoint, that model benefits us. Being on the other side, as I guess you would say, as a promoter, it becomes a lot more challenging to commercialize that as an opportunity because people will watch something on Instagram or Facebook for entertainment purposes, but to pay for it, that's a bit of a stretch. So the model that I've seen work with some of our clients is to create a product that is entertaining enough that people will watch and then sell it to a sponsor. And I think that is the way that things go. However, everything is an ecosystem. So if people are not going out spending as much, then a lot of the sponsors who would primarily target, their sales are down as well. So the sell has to be that, can you do a trade promotion as part of your virtual to encourage people to have a party pack or a home pack or a virtual pack? Maybe you can send us out the execution company to do a little setup in your homes as well. With one bottle of Appleton or Smirnoff to encourage people to participate in the virtual party. So I think that people still have not been as creative as they can be in the virtual space. I believe that they've defaulted to nobody's going to pay for it because, again, most people say they won't pay for it. But as you know, in business, people don't know what they want till they give it to them. And I think the Fame virtual event, while it may not be something that people are paying to participate in, we have commercialized it with the sponsorship partners. But I think there's another level that people can go. It just needs the right person to think it through, to create that party pack sales opportunity, plus the virtual, plus the entertainment, and the sponsor to really maybe get people to pay for it. So I think it really needs a little bit more brainstorming from that perspective.
Absolutely. I love that you've brought in a whole 360 perspective of the brainstorming and ideating process, because a lot of people just think, oh yes, this kind of sponsor would be interested in this product. But then you're right, Wes mentioned it earlier, where the cash flow is down for many companies. So thinking through what is it like for everybody that would be involved in that ecosystem to decide, if your idea is feasible. And while we're on entertainment, I wanted to just stay there to ask, do you see any other opportunities? I mean, we know you're not going to share your secrets, but there's a question coming from social media. Are there any general growth opportunities that you see, well, in this direction?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't want to speak about everything that we have cooking. But what I would say is that the entertainment, our group as a provider of entertainment services, Blueprint, Starlight, and Real Time, we can support a lot of ideas. And I think that Scott Dunn from Dream Entertainment has raised a very important conversation about what entertainment looks like. And I think that within the protocols of what the government has mandated now, and which we all are responsibly adhering to, I think that there's an opportunity to redefine what entertainment is. It is not just party. I think if you allow people in the entertainment and cultural space that freedom to not be confined to it's a party, you could find more outdoor dining experiences, outdoor museums, outdoor concerts, outdoor dance recitals, which getting people to leave home and going out for an experience is something that it may be easier to commercialize. And so if you allow people to, whatever is being allowed now at, bars, restaurants, and other places, allow event promoters to do it outdoor, which, by the science is actually safer. I think that you'll be able to allow people to generate more income and restart the ecosystem till we get to the point where we need to keep parties. So I think that allowing the entertainment fraternity to redefine what entertainment is the next best thing for the entertainment industry.
And while we're figuring that out, Devon, I want to ask you, do you think we're stymied? Are we out of fresh ideas? Do you think there's a kind of productivity crisis that we might be experiencing as a nation now?
Yes, I actually think so. I think we're just not thinking enough outside of the box. And I think the world is there for us to see. The NFL just had their Super Bowl last week, and they had 260 games played in a pandemic. The NBA completed their season last year, their 2021 season, and they started a new season this year. In Jamaica, we haven't done anything with sports in a year. My point is, I think we just need to understand that the pandemic is not going to go away. We have to live through the pandemic. So it means we have to be more open-minded, we have to be more creative, and we have to find different ways of doing things. And the truth is, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We have seen from other places in the developed world that these things can be done. We just need to be able to replicate what they have done. Some people call it copying. We can replicate it, right? So I think the truth is we just have to think about different ways of doing things without recreating the wheel.
And if I come with my idea, looks like it works elsewhere, I think it will work here, I've made the adjustments, what are the options available to me as an SME with respect to capital?
Okay, so the VM group actually has capital right now, just sitting down, waiting to deploy for entities that we think are ready to move to the next level. So I'll give you one example. We said when we went public, when VMIL went public in 2017, that we had $1 billion available to SMEs for capital injection in their business. Those monies are still around. The fact is, we don't think the take-up has been good from the marketplace. I hear you, Michelle. So we're saying, if you really want to raise capital, just come and let's have a sit down and talk. We will help you get to the next level. We'll provide the capital you need to move to the next level. I don't know how many of you have watched Shark Tank. Every single night on Shark Tank, there is capital going into new ideas. We just need to bring our ideas to the forefront and don't see them as secrets forever, because we have really creative people here in Jamaica who should just share their ideas, raise the capital, and move the business to another level.
Are you saying you have a just add water?
Yes.
I have an idea. You're ready.
We're
Just
ready
add
to-
water.
absolutely,
We'll help to
absolutely.
make it happen. Yes, Michelle.
Okay, Devon, I like what you said, and but I think that in Jamaica, when we think outside the box, it's very difficult to find people who will think outside the box with you. I know I have found that. I know my chocolate industry is $1 billion industry globally. We're not talking about Jamaica. We're talking about the world. Why is it that when people have an idea that's not the norm, nobody wants to back you? I have found that, and I'm honest. I'm being very honest with you. I have not found people who want to sign on to Chocolate Dreams. Even though I've been in business for 18 years, that company has been in business for 18 years, I have bounced back from a lot. Nobody will sign on to making it that, just what you said, come in, see you, sit. There are very few people. So I think the take up for VM is probably not being taken up because people are tired of thinking outside the box and then not having it fulfilled.
So
You know?
let's switch it a little, Devon. What then? We're coming with an idea from left field. What are the things that we need to keep in mind that will make us more attractive to a VM?
Okay, so the way to look on it is that not all ideas will result in a business. Many ideas are good, but they just can't be commercialized. And so one of the things we must think about is how you move that idea into a business. So right now, it may simply be chocolates as the business. But then, to make it commercially viable, you may need to add cakes, sweets, and some other things to it to make it viable. And as you spoke earlier, Michelle, I heard those points about collaboration. And Dean talked about collaboration too. That's another thing that I think we need in the Jamaican space. Collaboration really works for everybody when it is all said and done. And so what I'd want to do, Michelle, is that I think we can speak outside of here on this, but I think the collaboration is something that can move this business to another level.
As a financial entity, is there anything that you are thinking you would do differently moving forward, even if there wasn't a pandemic?
So yes, one of the things we will start with is the fact that the things that we do now, the adjustments that we've made since the pandemic, we want to make them the norm going forward. So where you have a situation where money transfers are going into a client's account, we want to make that the norm. Where you have clients going online to do their financial transactions, we want to make that the norm. Where you have transactions coming into your account and money is going out and you're paying your bills online at 12 o'clock in the night, we want to make that the norm. We want also a lot more people to come in and get financial advice. Too many people stay out there and try to diagnose themselves. The truth is, you can't be your own doctor, right? If you don't have that expertise, you cannot be your own doctor. You can't be your own legal advisor if you don't have legal training. So I'm saying to you, it's the same thing with financial services. We think you should come in and have a chat with us and get new ideas as to how you go forward. Many of the things that we do here in Jamaica, we're making them the norm here, but the truth is, they're not the norm in other countries. If you go to the US Embassy right now to apply for your visa, they're going to tell you have to upload things. So what have we seen? We've seen an industry emerging where people are helping to serve people who want to upload their documents. Matter of fact, I saw one right across the street from the US Embassy. So I'm just saying, we need to think outside of the box. And it's the same thing in the financial services. We have gone outside of the box, and we don't intend to go back into the box.
I want to throw the same question at Dean. Even in the absence of a pandemic, what is it that you would be doing differently compared to pre-COVID?
Well, yeah, we're always thinking. So, I mean, you could argue that the pandemic just forced us to be a little bit quicker on our feet. But most of the same themes. I am very guilty in my initial years with Blueprint of ignoring financials. I couldn't understand. I had my Excel sheet. That's all. That's all I needed. But as I got more mature in the business and understood the barriers that I was facing to be able to, demonstrate that the business is viable or not viable, not even to sell the business or the opportunity to somebody else, but even to demonstrate for myself. How did I know that what I was doing was correct? And that's something that I learned late in life. Good thing that I learned it. And so having that understanding for the financial picture, understanding what the numbers mean, does your gross margin mean, what the COGS different from your expenses mean, is very important in understanding your business. And I've had more time on my hands to go through the financials and understand that, and understand what every decision that I make and how it impacts those. I think, again, having what I would still have done is really kind of looked at the industries that we play in and ensure, again, we had a better cushion for the industry and for the shocks. But collaboration is very important. Sometimes we want to, have 100% of our business to say we're the CEO or we're the managing director. But, you could quickly have 100% of a business that's $50 million or be 40% of a company that's $500 million. Somebody told me once that, Mark Zuckerberg has such a small percentage of Facebook. Granted, he has a different class of shares, but the point is that, you can't be afraid to collaborate, invite people into your business because you benefit from the capital as well as from the experience and learnings of your strategic partners. So collaboration is one of the things. Working with people in the industry, I found that in our industry, people tend to be very territorial. I found that with COVID, everybody's talking. We're all sharing experiences, talking to each other. How do you do this? How do you do that? I just missed a call from Solomon from Main Event on my way in here, because we're talking about industry, what our approach is, what we're doing with the lockdown. And so before, people be so territorial about their industry. And sometimes it takes a pandemic to teach us that the industry is bigger than we are. Together, competition will always grow an industry. And people look at it in the theory books and say, that's in theory, Jamaica is too small. But I love, and I've posted it on my social media, that I hope we all remember the love that we've been giving each other during this pandemic, after the pandemic, because it's been very different.
And I love that as a thought. I'm still going to be greedy, though. We're almost out of time. But we've discussed so many things and gone to different angles of this new world, this new normal, this space within which we have to learn to operate and how we have to move forward. People remember at the start of something and at the end of something. So if there's one thing that you would like those who are watching YouTube or Facebook to remember as they leave, what would it be for you, Michelle?
I'd like them to remember just what I said a moment ago, which is quite similar to what Dean said. It's we're all in this together. It is really, really the point of the pandemic. We are together. It's painful. There's some people walking around that are smiling, but behind the smile is such a stress. I guess we have to be conscious that there are people that are feeling it in a way that we don't feel it. I know sometimes I get fatigued, and a phone call will help. Just a kind word to somebody, and I don't do it all the time, but I'm trying to be better at recognizing that this pandemic is teaching me how to love, how to think about other people other than myself and my family, because it's a very hard time for people all across the world. I think in the States and in Canada where they're locked up, I think how grateful I am to be here in the sunshine, and how blessed I am, and that's what I would like people to remember. Think positively, think outside the box, and we're all in it together. And come buy Chocolate Dreams, you can get happy there. We have happy.
Dean, I'm jumping back to you in case there's something else that's that from Michelle stemmed from something you said. Is there anything else in there that you think, as we close, this also needs to be remembered?
Yeah, I mean, primarily, it's really that people and the impact that this pandemic has had on people, and that people should talk to each other, whether it's about business or not about business, but, speak to people. Don't just bottle it up, try to fight the battle on your own, because, we know it's tough. And if you are in a position to help someone, and I'm talking, myself as a business owner, Michelle, financial institutions, landlords, if you're in a position to help somebody to survive, I think you should help somebody. You have companies that have done a great job helping me personally and my businesses to navigate in terms of, moratoriums and so forth. But I think that there are companies out there who, from what I've seen personally and what I've heard, can do more. Living with COVID means that we all have to be more innovative in our thinking, but also companies who can help have to have a longer outlook for the help that they probably need to provide to the market, and not just that 3-month assistance that was last year, March.
We got it. And in the position of kingmaker, that's what VM is. You are leveraging, you are looking, you are advising, and you are showing us the path to success. What do you want us to remember, Devon?
All right, so the to remember from me is not to waste the crisis. Quickly, what we saw after the 2008 financial crisis in the US was that all the hotels in the US were refurbished and renewed. If you go to a hotel anywhere in the US right now, and as a matter of fact, I'd go as far as Europe, you will see that the hotel stock is much better than it was before the crisis. What did they do? They used the stimulus that was available to the marketplace to retool their business. So I'm saying that I do not want us to waste this crisis. I want our companies to retool their business. I want our companies to renew their business. And I want our companies to recapitalize and restructure their businesses now. That's what I'd love to see at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you. And as we bring it all together, we remember that this time together has been a part of Victoria Mutual, and in particular VM Wealth, helping to remember that global family, not individual competitors, but a global family. We are all in this together. So we want to thank you for joining us for this first Financial Education to Empower event for 2021. It's financial education, business success strategies from crisis to opportunity, and it really is endless possibilities. If you need assistance, if you need or help in any way, you can give us a call at 876-960-5000, or you can email us wealthinfo@myvmgroup.com. Thanks for joining.